In heaven there is no beer. Oh, beer! That's why we drink it here. And when we're gone from here, all our friends will be drinking all our beer.
Hello everyone, and welcome to a day of beer here at Henry & Son with me, Jill Mott. I wanted to walk you through beers that just arrived here last week, some of which you can only find here at the shop. So let's just dive right in. I'm thirsty for some suds. This first beer is from a brewery called Kyuchi, and they've been very well known for their sake since the 1820s actually. And they came up with a beer in the mid-90s, back when craft beer was becoming a thing all over the world. And their beer is called Hitachino Nest. Now, Hitachino Nest, you may be familiar. They've sort of cornered the market on quality Japanese beer here in the United States under their white ale and their red rice ale. Little known fact, though, we've got their Saison de Japan, which is, I think, one of their best beers, one of their most uniquely Japanese beers. Why? Because they actually are putting an ingredient, a couple ingredients, that you'd normally use only for sake production. One being koji mold. Crazy. That's what gives this beer a beautiful amount of like bright acidity. Usually saisons are dry, fruity, 6 to 7% alcohol. This is only 5% alcohol and has this beautiful pearl essence in the nose. If pearls had a smell other than marine life. And it's like wonderfully got this like wonderful sour tinge on the mid palate because of that koji mold that they add to the mash bill. They also use a combination of saison yeast and Belgian yeast and some Japanese sake yeast, which gives it a really refined mid palate, a little chunky because of the koji, and it's just a gorgeous beer to drink. I actually featured it on a podcast because it was so good a couple weeks ago. Get a load of that while you can. This next beer is, I can't get my head around how good this brewery is. I don't mind if I do. It's a brewery called Michael Plank, otherwise known as Plank Beer in the beer industry. I used to run a beer bar in Chicago that had well over 130 beers, and we always had a beer from Plank because they're just incredible. They've been around since 1617. Most of what they're using for the beer, so their malts, etc., are hops. They're coming from their family farm in Bavaria, which is virtually unheard of in the world of beer and brewing. And they've won 7 World Cup beer medals for their Heller Weizenbach. You may be like, Heller, huh? Heller just is a German term for being a little bit like light or bright. So it's lighter in color for a Bock beer. And Weizen refers to the fact it's made with a nice hefty quantity of wheat, but then it is a Bock beer, so it is a little bit stronger in character. This is technically a Weizen Doppelbock. It does chime in at about 7.9% alcohol, so drink with caution. Look at that beautiful golden hue. It almost looks like a Sauterne from my angle here. It looks a little bit darker on camera. Wow, the nose it's just unmistakably, you can't mistake this for being a wheat beer, yet it's not all banana and clove like a Hefeweizen. It's got kind of this flaked wheat quality in the nose, and all of those very fruity clovey esters are way on the down low, just to give sort of a little bit more lift to those malts. Nice thick effervescence with a nice beautiful follow through of plantain. Obviously we're getting to a full-bodied beer category at close to 8% alcohol, but great with food. This would be awesome with Bavarian food par excellence, like sausages and pâtés and things like that. But this would be fantastic with Asian fare, Chinese, Indian, things that have a little bit more heat, Vietnamese, pho. I just love this beer. It's one of my favorite beers we have in the shop. So get a load of this while you still can. Next, very quickly, I'm going to talk about, Finish goes on for days. It doesn't drink like a 7.9% alcohol beer, so be careful. Next, I wanted to talk about Orval Day. Woo, that's right, Orval Day coming up. You can purchase anytime up until and through the week of March 21st. You can purchase Orval, and a brewery they've been making beer at this monastery for centuries. The monastery was founded in southeastern Belgium in 1071, if my memory serves me correctly, maybe 1070, the Common Era. But they were the first Trappist brewery to be sent here to the United States that's gone through 3 fermentations. That's right, 3 fermentations. Not only the first fermentation, but the second fermentation with a little Brettanomyces, little funk, and then a third fermentation, which is actually what we would consider the second fermentation in bottle, to get its fizz. Gorgeous beer, age-worthy beer, beautiful Trappist beer. They only make one beer that's available here in the States. The other is a slightly less alcohol beer that you can only get at the brewery / monastery. But I wanted to talk about Orval Day because all proceeds during this window of time around March 21st goes to supporting 2 hunger relief organizations. One is Northwest Harvest and the other is the Houston Food Bank. Please drink some Orval, not only to enjoy it, but to support those hunger relief programs right now. What's cool about it is Orval and their importer always gives us some swag to deliver your way. With a purchase of Orval, you're going to get things like a cool bar towel or a cool glass. We've got buttons and we have coasters and we have keychains, all kinds of good things that will come your way. It'll be like at random because only while supplies last, of course. Drink Orval, goes to a great cause. Happy Orval Day. Let's keep tasting beer, shall we? Next, I want to speak about one of my favorite porters of all time. This is a porter that is a benchmark beer for the porter style. Sammy Smith Taddy Porter is one. Carnegie Porter from Sweden is another. It's actually on the opposite side of the country from Stockholm. It's brewed in a place called Falkenberg, I think. And Carnegie Porter has been brewed since 1836, so they have a lot of experience brewing this style. Porters, as some of you may know, darker beers, but not always heavy. Sometimes we're drinking porters nowadays and they're like 9% alcohol, 8% alcohol. Delicious, they can be delicious, but a lot of them kind of honestly taste like beautiful home brews, kind of chocolatey, kind of cocoa powdery, cool, but kind of monochromatic sometimes. Carnegie Porter is one of the best in the world. And let's have at it, shall we? Carnegie Porter is an ale. There was a time that it was brewed like a lager, and then there was a time it was brewed with lager and ale yeast. Now it is completely made with an ale, porter ale yeast. And a little known fact about Carnegie Porter, it's the oldest trademark brand of anything in all of Sweden. They were thinking ahead. What's important? Beer is important. Just dark, but you can see through it. Very classic style. It's got this like almost like burnt copper meets like a light brown. Not overly thick. Sometimes porters are just so thick when you give them a quick little swirl in your glass, and this actually has some kind of effervescence and legs, as we would, as we could see, some head retention, but it's definitely a little bit thinner, which is nice. Whatever, just so good. Tootsie Rolls, a little bit of dark chocolate, like really dark chocolate, like 80%, 90% dark chocolate. Unroasted coffee beans. And then all this bitterness comes through on the finish. Whoa, so good. It's not like dry hop bitterness and like aromatic hops. It's just like it's just so good. Oh my gosh, I might have to go for sip number 2. Drink it now. Drink it. It's a porter for spring and summertime too. Drink some porter. It's just Carnegie Porter. It's just so good. Last but not least, we have so many things in the fridge. I couldn't pull them all out, obviously. We have some Echt Schlenkerla, some Hellish Schlenkerla in cans, canned in Connecticut, straight from the brewery. Delicious stuff. A wee hint of smoke, but still drinking very light. Classic Schlenkerla style. They're still smoking all their malts from trees that are growing in the local Bamberg forest. Ridiculous. And then my favorite beer, I shouldn't even tell you all about it because I usually buy half of it. De Glazen Toren, amazing Saison brewery in central just south of Brussels, Belgium. De Glazen Toren, Dermer Saison, and it's unfiltered, it's gorgeous, it's crunchy Saison. It's a little bit like this Saison de Japan where it's not overly fruity. The emphasis is as much on the hops and the malt as it is on the yeast. So you get a beautiful package in your mouth with an everlasting finish. And that's all I'm going to say. Drink great beer. Drink Orval for Orval Day. And thanks for supporting great beer as well as great wine here at Henry & Son, folks. Be well. Stay safe.
In heaven there is no beer. That's why we